So in today's video, we're going to talk about why we spend so much money we don't have on shit we don't need and how to maybe stop doing that, because I definitely do it and I have way too much crap in my life. I own a lot of shit. I have everything in my closet, everything in these two giant dressers behind me, and I have two full bins under my bed that take up my entire underbed storage space, which may not sound like a lot, but that's after donating bags and bags and bags of clothes after I graduated and moved out of my college town. So this is the condensed version of my wardrobe, and it is not very condensed. So after continuing to buy shit that I couldn't afford and literally don't have room for in this bedroom, I started wondering why I was doing this. It actually turns out that there are so many different reasons beyond our control, well, kind of beyond our control, for why we overspend and constantly buy things we don't need. So if this is you, don't fear. There are psychological reasons behind it. So the first reason that we actually tend to overspend and shop when we don't really have anything we need is the actual pleasure experience of shopping. So for a lot of human history, we actually didn't have shopping as a hobby or a pleasure activity because we shopped for necessity. Options weren't really available unless you were rich and were having things custom made for you, and then the poor were just wearing their work clothes and their sleep clothes because that's all they needed because that's all their lives were. Super fun. Another reason that we kind of see it now as Another reason we kind of see it now as more of a social experience is because that's what it was for a lot of women. Because these large department stores were targeted primarily at women, they were able to go there with friends and socialize and have a little bit of independence without male chaperones always tagging along and kind of controlling what they were doing. So another reason for overspending when we don't have money is actually our scarcity impulse. So we're worried that if we don't buy something now, it won't be there later when we decide we do need it, so we better hurry up and get it while it's still available. So stores know this, which is why they do things like put limited time offers and really short time frames on sales with high turnover of their inventory, because they want to put that pressure on you to make you feel like you need it now and can't sleep on it, can't wait, and buy something that you might not actually have budgeted for. So uncertainty about our emotions and life in general also contribute to why we were buying these things. If we are in a negative mood, but we're not really sure we're going to be stuck in it, we'll go out and buy things in the hopes that it'll lift us out of our negative mood. And if we're in a positive mood, we will buy things because if we're certain we're in a good mood, we know that we won't feel guilty about the purchases and blowing our budget and just indulge in the luxury of having shopping at our fingertips. It's a really weird thing. We also tend to spend more when we're going through periods of change, like post-grad life, before a job start, when you're kind of just floating in this nebulous oblivion. And also when we're feeling insecure because we're trying to assert some control. Gotta love that sexy vocal fry. That's not sexy at all. Okay. Loneliness is actually another big reason why we are driven to spend, and there's a whole loneliness epidemic, especially among younger generation and millennials, which is a different topic for a completely different video. But when we feel lonely, we tend to buy more things because we assume the happiness that they're going to bring into our lives and attach emotional value to these objects that don't really have that. And stores know this. So when they're selling you a pretty white, flowy summer dress, they know their main goal is not actually to sell you that dress, it's to sell you the idealized version of your life where you wear that dress and go out on picnics and are laying in a warm, sunny spot of grass with some wine and a cheese board that you prepared yourself, and you're carefree and happy and have no stresses, except for the dress costs $320. But if you buy that dress and spend that money, you can live this carefree prairie bitch lifestyle. Except now you're $320 further in the hole, and it's just a dress. And the last big reason why we keep acquiring more and more shit is because of our brains. So dopamine actually starts being activated just at the thought of going to the store, which causes all this anticipation and these craving chemicals to flood your brain and body just from thinking about going and buying things. So that's step one. And when we actually are in the store and shopping and buying things, we get a flood of endorphins. And these happy chemicals make us feel so good, which is why people talk about a buyer's high. And sickly enough, when you decide not to buy something, your brain floods you with chemicals that make you feel like you lost things, especially if you've touched it, which means you've, in your head, acquired partial ownership already and then abandoned it. Our brains are twisted fuckers. Honestly, there are a lot of other reasons why we overspend, like anchoring and delayed reward discounting, but if I got into all of those, this video would be an hour long and nobody has time for that. So given all of those things that are working against us, here are 5 things that you can do to cut down on your consumption of overspending on things that you have no room for, financially, physically, emotionally. I don't know you. First, try doing a spending freeze. Go cold turkey on buying anything that's not vital to your lifestyle. It's really up to you to decide what's vital for you in your lifestyle. For me, other than fixed expenses, it would be things like medicine, vitamins, supplements, food, under a certain budget. And I'm just going to move all of my spending into food because I could. Believe me. But I won't. I want to. So things that you could take out of your budget could be things like books, clothes, makeup, hair products, alcohol, if you're brave. I've done spending freezes several times, especially where I do no takeout for a month, no coffee for a month, and actual don't buy anything for a month at a time. And I find that really just gives me some mental headspace enough to step back and look at these products before I actually just mindlessly, impulsively purchase them. So my second tip is to ask yourself some grounding questions before you decide to make a purchase. And sometimes the answer to these questions is going to be yes, in which case, buy the damn thing. But this will just kind of give you a way to look and reframe the purchase and see if it's actually something that's going to add value to your life, or if it's just going to be another pile of clutter in a space that you don't have room for. This will also activate the decision-making part of your brain, and that kind of helps to push back against the heady endorphin rush that the thought of purchasing the object will give you. So some questions you could ask yourself would be, do I actually need this? Do I already own something similar to this? And how do you see yourself using this long-term 6 months down the line? Honestly, customize it to yourself. You know yourself better than I do, but those are just an easy jumping off platform for you to start looking inward and figuring out what kinds of things really do add value into your life. So my third suggestion is to sleep on it before you actually make the purchase. Now, I'm sure you've heard this before, but in my world, sleeping on it is not a day or two, it's a week or even a month depending on the purchase. What I do is I have a separate notes on my phone where I write down the item and the link to the item if it's online, and I will look at it and wait, and I'll wait at least a week. And if I still really feel that strong urge to get it, I know that's not just a passing impulse thing, and it's something that I've actually put a lot of thought into and still want. Honestly, how you feel after stepping back for a week or so might surprise you, because I've found many times that I didn't actually want the thing. I just wanted either the feeling of having it or the idea of what they were trying to sell to me with that ideal life and all that. My fourth tip is to make a list for yourself of things to stop buying for any amount of time, whether it's a month or a year, things that you find yourself frequently overspending on without much thought. So that could be things like we said, clothes, books, makeup products. And my last tip is to actually budget a little bit of fun money into your monthly expenses if you have the wiggle room, so that you can have those moments of impulsivity and you can have those moments of spending without putting too much thought into it. That's literally what being impulsive is. If you already have a little bit of room built into your budget for those moments when you just really want to have something, then you won't be breaking your budget or going into debt or feeling terrible about acquiring crap that you don't need. It's always best to know yourself and know what works for you. So use all of these tips, use none of these tips, use a combination of these tips. Whatever you think is going to help you stop buying so much shit and stop blowing your budget, do that. So hopefully now you have a little bit more background information on why you might feel the need to keep spending, and maybe some tips to stop doing that if every time you swipe your credit card you hear a little voice screaming in the back of your head. Or is that just me? Let me know in the comments what your guys' relationship with shopping and spending is, and I'll see you next time. Bye!